We're under the lights at Daytona tonight as the World GT Championship moves to the International Speedway in Florida. Andrew Woodhouse, Sam Fitzpatrick, and Sam Kumo is doing the cameras tonight here on Apex Racing TV and primarily on the iRacing Esports Network, of course. And we're in for a fantastic round. Round 18 of 28 this season. And Sam, we're at the road course tonight. Straight line speed's going to be paramount, agility in the hairpins, and a bit of bravery in those fast chicanes as well.
Absolutely. This circuit, loads of these drivers will absolutely adore. It's an awesome racetrack, mega slipstream. It's almost impossible to break the drafts. I mean, we came from Monza last time, which is really the only circuit which can get close to this place. But with the banking as well, it should be a great challenge for the drivers. And it's good to be back with this endurance format.
Yeah, this speedway in particular has seen many title deciders on our channel in particular, and we're not quite at that stage yet, but the drivers know that any good results tonight will really propel them towards this season 7 World GT Championship title. In terms of the championship standings then, Mark Fletcher leads the way for Texense Fitzstein Motorsport by 15 points only over George McClay. Pete Harron's in 3rd, Oscar Mangan 4th, and Ben Palmer in 5th. And there's only 73 points between 1st position, Mark Fletcher, and 8th position, Lewis Bibby. So it's all to play for going into the last 11 races of the championship. In the Pro-Am category, there's only 61 points between Mike Gray in 11th and Simon Underhill Mike Gray is leading that category and Simon Underhill in 5th. And then in the Am category, it's going Craig Jones's way at the moment, and he is 18 points ahead of Lars Van Rijn. So plenty to fight for tonight, Sam, and the drivers know that this is a unique challenge. This is one of these setups where you really have to make a compromise between that straight line speed and that mechanical grip in the slow stop.
Yes, certainly. I imagine, though, these drivers will have plenty of experience, though, with that balance. Of course, we race here in the Daytona 24 Hours, one of the most participated special events of the year. I'm sure the vast majority of these drivers have taken part, perhaps even in these GT3 cars as well. We usually visit this circuit as well in previous seasons, so they should have a decent idea of what to go for. However, turn 1 in particular and the chicane, it is so tricky with the amount of wing that these drivers run. I mean, around anywhere else, it would be absolutely suicide to run as much downforce as what these guys are going to be using today. So through those fast corners, it is almost impossible to keep control of the car. So you're absolutely right. You've got to get a little bit of a balance, but at the same time, you kind of just got to put up with the lack of grip that you're going to have.
Yeah, and this circuit's a venerable institution here in Florida. It's 1959 it was opened, and they used to, of course, race originally on the very beach here in Daytona Beach. So, yeah, from sand to asphalt, and you know, it's really become one of the most famous tracks in the world, Sam. And of course, it's known primarily for the Daytona 500. But you mentioned sports cars. You mentioned even things like rallycross, the supercross go on here.
Yeah, this was one of the first ever circuits, wasn't it, on iRacing with the Rallycross, a couple of configurations that you can try out on iRacing. But yeah, it's got absolutely everything this place, and the Rolex 24 has really become one of the most famous sports car events in the world, probably only second to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Really can't think of anything that perhaps beats that one.
Maybe
like
Sebring, maybe Spa, but you're looking at them all really on a very similar level of in terms of how prestigious they all are. And you know, this circuit, it might seem easy on the face of it when you look at it. It's relatively flat, apart from really just the banked sections, but it looks quite straightforward. But it's very narrow in places. It's very, very easy, as many drivers have found out over the years, to get caught up in something silly here and ruin the race. So this is what they've really got to look out for.
And incidents around here are penalised so much because the walls are pretty close to the circuit. But if you just get a tiny bit of damage early on, that could be a race over. I mean, you're going to be so slowed down the straight. And if you drop the draft as well, just maybe a small mistake, tip the wheel onto the grass, lose a second, say, you lose the draft, all of a sudden you've got 5 or 6 cars dragging them their way away from you. So you've got to be absolutely perfect in order to win round this place. And usually the margins between the drivers we see are pretty small, as they've got so much experience, like I said earlier on. So
Mm.
really
And
got to be a perfectionist around this circuit.
yeah, and in order to win this race, the drivers are going to have to negotiate 1 hour and 45 minutes, the endurance round tonight. There is 2 mandatory pit stops, and fuel has been set. Now, iRacing can set the fuel limit. They've set it to 75% for this one. 2 mandatory pit stops and 1 fast repair for the drivers to get back in the action just in case they need one. Which is, I think it's pretty good. Over 1 hour and 45. Don't want your race to be over on the first lap. Really, but the interesting part is, and we'll try our very best to keep you abreast of this as the night goes on. But points are awarded at both 50 and 100% race distance. Points are awarded in equal amounts. So the first half of the race, if you win that one, for instance, you get 75 points, and they go down in increments of 1. So say, so just an example, looking at the field tonight, say 40th place, they will take. This is a good example, isn't it? When I can't find the number.
Points.
Yes, 36 points they'll get for 40th place. And then again, if they're 40th at the end, they'll get another 36 points. So equal amounts. So there's plenty for the drivers to at stake and for them to battle for tonight. And it can make a big difference in the championship. And looking at those standings, Sam, 73 points between first and 8th, as I mentioned before. That means that if someone DNFs after 50% distance, that entire lead could be wiped out.
Definitely. This does include drop scores, by the way, so it's a little bit tricky to keep up to date with all the points. I was expecting Oscar Mangan to be at the top of the standings by now, but because Fletcher's had an awful couple of rounds, but he managed to drop his Monza round, I believe, where he retired twice. But when you take into consideration, if you take away the drop rounds, McClay's actually leading, and Fletcher is 200 points off the lead when you don't take into account drop scores, such as being his poor couple of rounds. So you take the standings at the moment with a grain of salt. There are probably 10 or 12 drivers still with a chance of winning this season. And if you have had a couple of rounds so far, you cannot afford another one. I think if Mark Fletcher does retire early on around this circuit and struggles to get in the top 20 in either race, that could really be him out of the championship, even though he's currently at the top of the championship. It can change that quick.
Yeah, and with quite a short season, relatively anyway, 28 races and about 10 race meetings. Yeah, it can certainly turn around very, very quickly. And there's not a lot of time for the drivers to recover. Just to say again, everybody, thank you for joining us on the iRacing Esports Network tonight. We hope you're going to have a fantastic time with us over the next 2 hours or so. We hope you're staying home, staying healthy, and getting through everything that's going on in the world. And we're here with you to provide you a bit of entertainment in all this. And we're very happy to see you. And Nico Fogg is very happy to see his name at the top of the timing sheet, Sam.
Yeah, he's had that pole position for a while actually in this session. Don't expect the track temperature to change too much, so the track should be equally as fast through the session. He was 0.2 of a second clear before Abdotka managed to get very close to him. You can see 1/100th of a second, as I believe Ross McFarlane just improves up into 5th position. But yeah, Foggy currently on pole. Will be interesting to see what advantage the McLaren has around this circuit. We saw it at Monza. The McLarens did seem to have a bit of an advantage, but Foggy, I believe, in the Mercedes, doing a pretty good job at the moment. And Thompson, I don't believe is in the McLaren either. So I think we've got to go back to Ben Palmer in 4th and then McFarlane in 5th for the first McLaren 12Cs, which is perhaps a little bit of a surprise. Maybe those guys were fancying their chances. And Oscar Mang, who's been in absolute lightning form their past round at Monza, dominated by far the fastest driver, only in 7th place at the moment, not getting that draft, it seems.
Yeah, and from my experience in the McLaren, it is quite a while ago, but I didn't particularly get along with it that well in the slow stuff, I'll be honest. And there are quite a lot of slow corners here. Yes, there are the long straights, but you can see he's going to come up to one as well. This right-hand hairpin at the end of the first sector. He gets out of there fairly well, but he's still having to use all the curb on the exit. And you've got this fast kink left. It should be flat out. Oh, it is indeed. You can hear the tyres crying as they struggle through that left-hander. Another slow right-hand hairpin. And then already, Sam, after this next left-hander onto the banking, we're already nearly home and dry. We've just got the bus stop chicane to go.
Yeah, pretty much from here, and then you've only got one moment where you can really show your talent to gain any time. Really bad for Mangan, this situation. He's got no one in front of him, so you think of the extra air resistance he's got. If you absolutely nail the draft, like if you work as a team, you can probably shave about 6/10 of a second off your time if you nail the draft. Expect Foggy to have gained probably 4/10 of a second on his snap time. So Mangan,
over 275. Sorry, over 275 kph there. But yeah, you're right. He's not going to have a lot of chances to gain that back. In the bus stop chicane, he looked tidy through there. He's hugging the yellow line as much as he can. This is the circa 2011 version of the Daytona International Speedway. He's right on the bottom. Is he going to try and cut some of the inside to gain some time? He does. He breaks the timing beam. What's it going to be for Mangan? If the checkered flag comes out, he does improve, but it's only to 4th place, so it'll be a second row start for the Irishman most likely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good effort. That's 0.3 of a second off Foggy without a draft. That's pretty impressive. And also interesting to see he was right in the rev limiter by the end of the lap across the start-finish line. So that kind of indicates maybe if he does get a draft, he's not actually going to gain that much. Might try something different for the race, so he's got a little bit more space at the top there if he changes his setup. But watch out for that one for the drivers. See if they do leave a bit of leeway open in case they do get the draft, or whether they kind of tune their car up so that it's fastest when they're by themselves.
You would think that the sensible thing's going to be to set your car up to get a decent draft. But again, we don't really know what the drivers are thinking and what they prefer. So that's what we're going to see here, as it looks like everybody's finished. So Mangan was actually one of the few people. He was the last man over the line, Sam, so barely made it over.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty close by. Yeah, everyone else gone back to the pits. So we're just waiting for the timer to tick down. We've got a short warm-up lap around this circuit. We line up on the back straight. Of course, newly designed by iRacing as well. They've got a few billboards there instead of the old grandstand, which I believe was dismantled a few years ago. So iRacing added that. We'll be able to show that off, and then by about a 30-second roll round to the start-finish line.
Well, here is the starting grid then. Nico Foggy puts the XVR Sim Racing car onto pole position, just ahead of Michael Evdoka. Great effort by him in the Texas Fit Start Motorsport car. Josh Thompson in the Audi and Oscar Mangan in the McLaren are on row 2. Ben Palmer and Ross McFarlane is in all McLaren row 3. George McClay is in 7th place. He's currently 2nd in the championship, ahead of Carl Moore, who impressed last week as a privateer and back again today in the top 10. Andy Shield is 9th, ahead of Ash Beard, with Ben Gregory in 11th, Simon Field in 12th. 13th will be Mike Horder, who's 2nd currently in the Pro-Am category. Dan McCauley's in 14th, ahead of Billy Fletcher, and Pro-Am leader Mike Gray in 16th. Stephen Burke for Team Lizard Motorsport in 17th, with Simon Underhill in 18th, 19th for Pete Harrod, and Chris Daines for Year 1 Racing in 20th. Matt Bunn 21st, ahead of Adam Hedgecock. Richard Warmingham in 23rd, Craig Jones 24th, and Stephen McCaffrey for Oriental Esports in 25th. Pete Newman 26th, and then Chris Coughlin, and then Lewis Bibby. Mark Woodhouse, last season's AM champion, ahead of Harry Wills, and Kevin Bolland in 31st, Max Bird in 32nd, Lars Van Ryn 33rd, and then Dean Timms with Carl Hardy in 35th and Ethan Bass 36th. John Roberts is 37th, ahead of Matt Draycott, and then Taylor Lane 39th, 40th for Mark Fletcher. Look where he's starting. Dennis Melcher is 41st in the Ford GT. Nick Madsen for Ferrari is 42nd, and Michael Blake is in 43rd. Kieran Chung is 44th, and rounding out the field, Sam, is Tom Jacobs. So it's a Texans Fit Stye on the front row, and then one right at the very back as well.
Yep, it's a sandwich.
Oh, Carl Jacquelet 46th as well.
There you go. Oh, well, that's good, hasn't it? I was about to say it's a sandwich of literally everyone. When there's my motorsports drivers the bread. That is a big sandwich. I mean, that is world record. That's a lot of slices of bacon, cucumber, and whatever. So would like to tuck into that, no doubt. Anyway, Foggy leading.
Are you hungry, mate?
You know what? I'm halfway through a curry, so I'm anything. So I am very pleased with my hunger at the moment. Foggy will be taking the field from the start. Not sure how aggressive these front runners will be. They're all very experienced drivers. Probably the way to go is just stay in line and make sure they don't drop the draft. But we'll see. I see JT Moore there. Maybe not quite as experienced. He might be a bit more aggressive on this first lap.
Well, we've seen many incidents into turn one over the past few years, so I'm sure we could well see it again here. Saw it in the ARL TCR final just a few months ago. And here we go then. Nico Foggy brings us to the green, and 1 hour 45 minutes and the Daytona International Speedway is underway for the World GT Championship here on the iRacing Esports Network. Foggy's clearing to turn one, nicely done by him. Evdoka in second, then it's Thompson following in third. See Moore getting pushed slightly wide, and there's a lot of stacking up in the middle of the field, but it looks like everybody has got through turns 1 and 2 pretty much okay. In fact, maybe 1 or 2 issues right at the very back. There's a spinner. There is a spinner.
Underhill.
I think, yeah, Simon Underhill then in the Nomad Sim Racing car has spun at the first of the slow corners. He's trying to get back on. Oh, a few drivers maybe starting from the pits as well coming through. And there's a crash. And that's Dan McCauley. So Dan McCauley and Chris Daines. So Daines, who won a race in the last meeting, coming to grief there. Already some problems for the year 1 racing man. And there's another spinner, and that's Matthew Bunn.
Yeah, that's kind of 4 or 5 separate incidents we've seen on the first lap with plenty of drivers dropping down. Fortunately, none of them turned into a pile-up, but that was a lot of drivers really struggling straight away. Meanwhile, Foggy, they're all still in the draft of one another. It seems back to 7th place. Andy Shield just losing touch in 8th. He's got past Moore. That is, in fact, the only change of position in the top 12, as Lewis Bibby has gone off the circuit. I'm seeing him gaining 11 places already, and I think he must have cut the chicane, and that's going to be a massive slowdown on this first lap. He's going to go right back to where he started.
Yeah, it looks like he's cut the bus stop. So Bibby dropping down the order, and Evdoka looks like he's quite interested in taking the lead here, which, you know, he could well do. It won't hurt him. This is why it's so important at the beginning of the race, though, Sam, not to lose that draft, as you know, 7th on down have done side by side between Field and Gregory, I think. So it's Beard and Gregory, 10th and 11th, going into that hairpin. And they've sorted that out with Beard just in front. Foggy by half a second. You can see the XVR sim racing car going about his business. This is Stephen Burke. He's in 14th place. And he's chasing down Billy Fletcher. So these two just getting detached slightly, though, Sam, from that group between 7th and 11th place. Yeah,
and they haven't quite got the draft, as you can see ahead. I mean, they're probably desperately thinking, come on, guys, just fight for a couple of corners.
Slow down a bit.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Oh, Woodhouse.
Woodhouse, he'll be sorry, because he has gone off as the 83, and that is a lot of places lost on the first lap, down to 43rd position. It might get even worse when with Wells, who also spun at turn 2, I believe, on the first lap. And Woodhouse drops behind him. He's barely in the draft either now, so it's going to be a long day for him to try to catch up. You can see already the field spread. I mean, that is pretty much from the start-finish line to NASCAR 3-4, which is pretty big. So we might not be too far away from, well, we should certainly get some lapping by the end of the race.
I think by maybe the midpoint, you'd be looking at that, I reckon. We're on board with Josh Thompson, Manxman, the Audi R8, chasing down the 2 Mercedes, Foggy and Evdoka, just 8/10 off the lead. Josh Thompson, I think he'd be quite happy to sit there, maybe save a bit of fuel, Sam, it's possible. Oh, Matt Bunn and Adam Hedgecock's a problem for Hedgecock.
Hedgecock, I think, must have cut that entire turn 2. There he is, because it all of a sudden put him way up the order, and he went way off that the sim was actually registering
Oh,
him.
and he's collided with
Further
Underhill.
ahead. This is
See
how it
what
happened
happened
to him. He was doing alright as well, was Hedgecock. Oh dear, he lost it by himself.
That's why he showed so high up the order, Sam, isn't it? On our screen, because he effectively cut the course a little bit. Came back on the correct way though, so no danger of a disqualification or anything like that for him.
Yeah, that would be risky to cut the circuit like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. It would probably be a stop-go penalty, which would lose him about a minute. So certainly wise thing to do to get back onto circuit where he fell off. But
Some very good starts already. Kieran Chung, Carl Jackalette over 10 places gained. Dennis Melchett, Michael Blake, John Roberts, Nick Madsen, and Mark Fletcher has gained 21 places. Sam, Mark Fletcher absolutely flying up the field. He's starting 40th.
Championship leader, of course. I don't know why he started so far back. Could have been a penalty for him, although I swear he took part in so few laps at once, so I don't see how he would have been able to pick one up in the first place. But he has recovered brilliantly. Damage recovery for him. Get back into the top 10 maybe by half stage, as his brother, Billy Fletcher, has just gone off the circuit at turn 1. Drops to 14th place, does Fletcher, and he's still dropping. Where is Billy Fletcher? I know, maybe he is getting back going now.
He has dropped down just behind Richard Warmingham. There he is.
Yeah, he's having a tough time of it now. He's struggled to get back his momentum, and yeah, I think he's lost 4 places there as Fletcher.
So, Warmingham then in 14th.
Stint ahead. Burke.
Yeah, there he is. There's Stephen Burke in the Lizard Motorsport car. He's gone off at the right-hander. So a lot of drivers coming to grief here. Dean Timms has had a problem as well, but a lot of drivers sliding the car, Sam. I don't know if it's cold tyres and things out there still. Surely not after 6 minutes.
It does take them a while, because it is a very cool track temperature today. Long straights as well, so they could potentially cool down, though they do build up a bit of pressure on the banked turns. As Fletcher is, having to defend from Harrod, isn't he? Yeah. Should have a good straight line speed. Now they're both on the tail, though, of Warmingham, who might be in a vulnerable position. Is 0.8 of a second clear. That gap, though, slightly coming down just a waft of slipstream, and of course, as you get closer and closer, it becomes more and more powerful. Pulls out from the slipstream, does Harrod. This might work for him. He's got good overspeed, but coming into the pits and factors Fletcher. I wonder why that is. Well,
could have had some damage possibly, or could be in a very, very early stop, but yeah, I don't know. Don't know if that can get him to the end by stopping now. Although it was quite close between Newman and Mark Fletcher, is that? So Mark Fletcher is scything through the field here, Sam. It's really impressive stuff.
Yeah, shame that he's not in that leading battle. Undoubtedly, if he had taken part in qualifying, he'd be fighting with that top 7 train. But instead,
it's a tremendous train at the front. I will say that the drivers in it. It's the best in the. It's the best. It's some of the best in the world, really. Foggy, Evdoka, Thompson, Mangan, Palmer, and McFarlane. It's a real all-star pack, really. And what's happened to? Adam Hedgecock sounds like he's had a problem again. Underhill maybe as well. It's all sorts of. It's all kicking off at the back. And this is Underhill with some damage. Excuse me. And that's Mark Woodhouse trying to recover.
Yeah, so you think of all the separate incidents that these guys have had that not really associated with one another, why they're far down the order, but they just had their individual spins with those cold tyres and tipping a wheel onto the grass. Of course, with this new tyre model that we have in iRacing, the grass is so much more slippery than it was previously, so dipping a wheel onto it almost guarantees a spin. It was tricky in the first place. It's 10 times more tricky now. Andy Shield is dropping down the order, as you can see on the turn. He's down into 11th, and Moore as well has been involved. They are going
I
again.
wonder if they hit each other into turn 1.
Yeah,
So often happens here at Daytona.
must have gone a long way off to lose that amount of places. Pete Newman as well.
Oh, Newman's going
Behind.
backwards though.
Oh dear. Oh well,
I
he's
think the
back in
same
third
things
now.
happened. I think the same thing happened to him as it did to Adam Hedgecock. You know, he's ended up in the same spot.
And now he's with the Woodhouse battle. Everyone wants to be with Simon Underhill. Everyone seems to be spinning into his proximity right now. Newman just behind. Woodhouse will try to take advantage straight away. Potentially a bit of dirt as well on Newman's tyres, which may compromise his grip for a few moments. And all these guys should really be battling for 20th place, not 40th place.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. They're having some issues. Field and Gregory swapping places. It looks like as well.
Difficult to tell what the driver strategy is going to be with fuel in this race. In case we didn't say earlier on, 75% fuel limit for these drivers. Can usually go around something like this for about an hour, so I expect them to go 45 minutes, but they do have to pit twice as Matt Bunn pulls off an exceptional move there, and he's absolutely ruined it. He's got egg on his face, and he should be ashamed with himself because he's miles off the track, and he's just made me look like a fool. I was about to say, you know, move of the season, and it's ended like that.
Yeah, poor Matt. He was going quite well, wasn't he? And hasn't really worked for him at this point. Sadly, 43rd place for him. Look at this, Matt Draycott then. I think he'd go on Carl Jacquelet. So Carl Jacquelet started right at the back. But he's got decent pace in that Year 1 racing Ferrari. Pete Newman just behind. So Newman trying to recover after his spin. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a. Are you surprised at just the number of errors the drivers are making out here tonight so far?
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen more errors at turn 1, I must say. We've seen plenty of errors elsewhere. Not sure if...
Yes.
I think it was me and Adam who broadcasted a race where we literally saw 15 different drivers spinning at turn 1. Just all the same as including the rear end.
Yeah.
We haven't yet seen that, but we will see it at least a couple of times as these guys are in sync place. So this is Robert
Oh, it's been done.
at the front. Oh, that's very tight.
It's Mike Gray, Michael Blake, Mike Gray, Kevin Bolland, Max Bird, and then Ethan Bass and Chris Daines. That's the immediate group there anyway. This is in the mid-20s. Oh look, wing damage. Wing damage for Mike Gray, and that's going to hurt him throughout the entire race, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure that's something that does not get changed unless it's a fast repair. But I've had that damage before in endurance race. It can be 10 to 15 kilometers an hour slower down the straight. The BMW already struggles at the straights a little bit.
Contact with the Year 1 car flashes the lights, which is even more prominent in the time of day that we are in. Here it's kind of just worth waiting behind, setting your car up. It's all just preparation. Gain contact at the next horseshoe. Not making too many frames right now is Daines, who has already had issues, goes to the inside, bit of a late block that from Bolland, and well, the slide ahead for apologies. That
he's trying the inside. Oh,
inside.
Well, he went down onto the apron to complete that one, and these two not pulling any punches out here tonight. Max Bird and Kevin Bolland. Bolland's going to try, goes to the inside again. He's blocking quite late down to the apron, Sam, and that's getting a little bit borderline now.
Oh, there's going to be
but
slow on the apex.
That's a great move by Kevin Bolland. Here comes Chris Daines. He's Dane's pushing him?
I think so. You don't want to take the high line at this point, otherwise you're just going to have to run such a longer distance, of course. It's worth pulling out about here, and it might go through wide. Is there any room down the middle? Not quite. An absolute sitting duck is the car number 4 of Bolland, who might stay in second place in this train. No, he's going to drop down to third or fourth. The year 1 car going massively around the outside. Danes can't quite get past third, and now makes
there's
the
a
contact.
spinner.
And now Boland going off on the inside as well. And from leading this chain, he's now dropped 6 places in 2 corners. As Daffy inside,
These guys are getting. These guys are running out of patience, and considering the race is only 14 minutes old, not really sure why. But yeah, running out a bit of patience here. They just need to rethink about the racecraft a little bit more. Dennis Melchant then up the inside of Ethan Bass. So the German moves up into 29th place. Tom Jacobs going well from the back of the field as well, Sam.
Yeah.
Somebody's spun. Is that Bolland again?
Oh no. Awful lap for him. He was, what, 22nd? 1 lap ago? Maybe a little bit lower than that. 26th.
About 25th, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. And now he's in 37th with a couple of spins. You can see how, I mean, they're in a different state right now to the race leaders who are in the infield already. They are just going through the bus stop. It's because they're working together as well as everyone else is scheming against one another. And now Simon Field is up into 9th place. Gregory heading this, what do you call it when you got the second chain in cycling? It's not called the peloton, is it?
Well, it's just the second group. It's just a chasing group, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a chasing group. You've got the Tête de la Course, and then you've got the chasing group, and then it's the peloton behind. I'd say the peloton is probably... Well, it might have been that battle we were just watching, maybe in 15th place on back, but yeah, definitely the chasers. Ben Gregory is having a good meeting so far. Really good qualifying. He qualified in 11th, going really, really well. Interestingly, Sam, top 7 are exactly as they started.
Yep. And I don't think any of them have too much interest in passing. I started making a point earlier on, and then I'm sure there was an overtake or something. But the drivers can go 45 minutes on fuel in this race. So...
Newman and Underhill, I think, have hit each other potentially.
Oh, no.
Gone off together.
But yeah, they should be able to go...
Oh, yeah.
Well, Newman, has he... No, I don't think he's cut the circuit there. Hopefully he's not. If he comes into the pits, he probably has. So he should be able to go 45 minutes. The first amount of points will be dished out at 47.5 minutes, I assume. That's half distance. Sorry, not 47.5. 52.5. They might be able to fuel save to get to there. So I'm thinking if drivers have to pit before the first points are dished out, then that's going to be a massive disadvantage. Whereas if you can save enough fuel, then you might not have to pit, and that's because it's going to gain you a lot of points.
Yeah, and well, exactly that. And one thing we're going to see is it's definitely going to be similar to the NASCAR stage format, where we might see an almighty fight at half distance. I mean, there's only a point or so in it. There's only a point for every position, but it's all important when there's only, as we said at the top of the show, only 73 points between 1st and 8th so far in the World GT Championship in Season 7. So yeah, we'll see exactly what they can do. This is that lead battle that we mentioned. They're just all sitting at a comfortable distance, aren't they? Although I will say that Thompson is potentially in danger of dropping off here.
Yeah, he's in that danger area where a small mistake would get you out of the draft. He should be close enough at the moment. Gap is 7/10 of a second, and yeah, he should
about
be
8/10, isn't
by
it?
the end. Yeah,
8/9 is the slipstream sort of area. But it's good from Evdoka. He's closing up to Foggy, and that's putting the pressure on Thompson, and likewise putting the pressure on Mangan and Palmer and McFarlane and McLean. Stay with everybody and try to keep this pack going. They might be making, you mentioned cycling, this might be their break for the intermediate sprint effectively. It might be the time when these two are going, well, you know what? We're going to try and lose these guys and see what we can do. Maybe fight it out between ourselves. We could see a cracking middle of the race, I tell you, if it's going to be like that. But yeah, they're going to have to save a lot of fuel, Sam, I think, if they're going to get to that midpoint.
Yeah, I think probably a little bit too ambitious.
Maybe too much.
52. I assume the halfway is 52.5 minutes, which seems a very
It's
strange.
105 minutes, so yes, you're right.
Yeah, so I can only imagine that is when the points will be dished out. It will be the lap ending, that's of course. A lot of smoke, that might just be on my screen with a few gyros appearing and whatever. Meanwhile, Melt shirts.
Oh, he's been hit, I think. He's been hit from behind.
That's in the wall.
That's curtains for Melcher, I think. Well, he's going to have to come to the pits anyway. Now, that's going to be one of his mandatory pit stops. I think he was just hit up the rear. Quite sure exactly, but yeah, quite substantial damage for him.
Dave Crosio was just saying, how is the medical car going? And well,
Dave Crosio, the answer is he needs it. Yeah, he needs a medical car himself. Oh, bang! Oh, and that's into that concrete wall, Sam, as well. So not forgiving at all.
I was thinking for a minute he was going to hit that pit exit wall that they have and get stuck in the tyres. If anything, that is the worst thing you can do rather than circuit actually hitting the tyres, because they just absorb you. I mean, it's like some kind of fungus which just wraps its arms around you, and you can't escape from its grasp. At least for Melcher, he can get this car back to the pits, and of course with the amount of fuel, he won't have to do an extra pit stop. It's still an inconvenience, but it could be worse.
Well, poor old Julian Janowski did that in a BSRTC race a few years ago. He went into turn one, cold tyres, lost the rear, ended up going down the pit lane. And did you see the guy? Did you see the chap? It was an iRacing race, maybe about a year or so ago. Chap who ended up spinning and going into the getting stuck in the old pits at the Nordschleife sideways, and he couldn't move.
Yes, I have seen that. Oh, that is absolutely glorious, that clip.
Oh, I feel sorry for him. Dennis Melcher, I also feel, look at the state of that Ford GT. Dear me, that has seen better days. Some of the rear is missing and everything. Oh, look at the battle in front of them though. For about 35th place. Yeah, Pete Newman, Underhill again, and Hedgecock. So these guys have had all sorts of problems so far. They've been in the wars. Some of it has been with each other. And they're all together on the track now, so who knows what's going to happen. Hedgecock, who went very well, didn't he, in Monza. Three top 10s, I believe it was, or thereabouts anyway. It was very close to that.
Yeah, certainly 3 top 20s. He actually said afterwards how it was his best meeting ever in the World GT Championship. Unfortunately, couldn't get his microphone to work, which is ironic for a commentator that he couldn't succeed on that front. But on the race circuit, he was absolutely spectacular. So shame that he got spun around, because he actually had a decent qualifying as well, putting himself in like 15th place, I think, on the grid. It does seem like we have a 3-car breakaway, as you were saying before. I think it's a 2-car breakaway. Thompson was half a tenth faster than the race leader on that last tour, but they were 6/10 faster than Oscar Mangan, who is now leading a second train, a second quartet, if you will, 1.6 seconds further back. So it seems to say this might be the 3-way potential for the rest of the race. As long as they don't make a mistake, it's going to be really tricky for Mangan to close back up.
Well, it was 10th, by the way, for Hedgecock last week. It was 10th, 12th, and 10th. So, including a win in the Pro-Am category. So, certainly going well was Hedgecock there. But yeah, you're right. And this is the thing. You cannot drop off any shape or form. And maybe it illustrates, Sam, what you were saying at the beginning of the show, that maybe the McLaren just doesn't quite have it today.
Yeah, none in the top 3, which is a big surprise.
But look how well these guys have done in the first part of the race, really, though, Sam, to break away in such a fashion from that battle. I know Gregory, Beard and Field and that lot are scrapping away a little bit, but, I mean, they've built 15 seconds over them in just 14 laps. So that's really impressive. Really very impressive indeed. And
Oh,
look at
yeah.
this. Are we going to see a change for the lead here? Or is he just going to push him along and just try and... Maybe he's just going to try and keep him... maybe try and just break away from Thompson here. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the only thing that Evdoka really can do. It's a tricky situation for Foggy because, of course, he's going to have so much less fuel now than Evdoka. He'll be massively fuel saving at make sure go at least one lap further than his rival, probably even 2 laps further, so Thompson gains a few tenths of a second just in the first couple of corners. We're all certain we are back to a 3-car chain. Maybe that's where Thompson is at his absolute best, as Taylor Lane has come back to the pit. I believe that may have been a tow back to the pits. So
I would say so, yeah, looking at
there
that.
you go.
Chris Copland's up to 21st place as well, going well. Scotsman. Yeah, for those who are new to iRacing or new to endurance racing in general, you know, why is it such a disadvantage for Foggy to be at the front of the field? Well, that's simply because in his pit stop he's going to have to put less fuel in than the opponent, so he's going to be stationary for less time, and that will pay dividends in the end, especially Sam, with the 2 mandatory pit stops that we're going to see here tonight.
Yep. And also, of course, if you can go a few laps longer in terms of fuel, then you're going to be on, say, 5 litres of fuel, whilst your rival is going to be on 8. So that's also quite a big advantage, especially around a circuit like this, where it's a lot less about the course, a lot more down the straights. You're going to gain a lot of time with that. This train is longer than it was, I swear. I don't think it had this many cars before. It goes back to Carl Moore now in 13th place. And again, we're seeing the same situation as we see Outs in the lead. No interest for Ashley Beard to pass Ben Gregory. He knows that he's not going to catch up to the top 7. May as well just stay behind, not lose too much time, and save a hell of a lot of fuel.
Yeah, it's absolutely vital at a circuit like this. Absolutely vital. But someone's got to be at the front, haven't they, Sam? That's the thing. You're a bit sacrificial when you're there, but you know, someone's got to be at the front. Otherwise, you wouldn't get anywhere, would you?
Exactly. What you could do is just, I guess the advantage when you got a train as long as this, if Gregory did slow down, he could literally just lift off down the back straight and let everyone pass, and then someone else would have to lead for at least a bit, or they could just make themselves go painfully slow as they all try to go as slow as possible not to lead, a bit like we see in
And
the
then it would turn into a
Kieran.
Moto 3 race.
Yeah.
Or some of those Skip Barber races that you've seen in the past. Now look at this. And this is now Palmer going ahead of Mangan, and also now McFarlane's interested in this one. So I wonder, is Mangan struggling, or is he just trying to spin this fuel out?
Maybe Mangan is a bit concerned that they're losing time to the front runners and just thinking, well, I may as well let Palmer past. I'll save a bit of fuel, and you never know, Palmer might be able to drag us up. Look at the speed of McFarlane, though. That is remarkable for NASCAR 3 and 4. He wants to get up into second, but then once you pull out of that jump, then you lose a lot of time, and he'll stay into 6th place. George McClay now 1 second behind these guys. If they can work together, they might be able to drop McClay and leave the Scotsman very much by himself.
And listen to the sound of it as well as he was going down the straight. Deafening roar coming from that Mercedes, from the McLaren, sorry, as he and look at the fire coming out of the back exhaust of the McLaren. Terrific feature of that car, I will say. Makes for some spectacular shots in car. McFarlane just trying to stay with these two now. That's all he really has to do.
Once again,
McClay's got it down to 6/10 so now, so Sam, so he's decided to get on with it a little bit, as George.
Yeah, we see this with the driver at the back seemingly gaining time through the infield and then losing a bit of time down the to the banking. He's just a little bit too far away. He's getting some slipstream, but not as much, of course, as Ross McFarlane just ahead of him. Once again, the Brits in this race absolutely crushing it. Top 17 are UK and Ireland, and because the Irish drivers are doing very well, we are including them in this. If they're doing badly, then it would purely be the UK. But congrats to all those guys. As Michael Blake, he is dropping outside the top 20. Massive issues for him. He's just going on to the
Oh,
banking, I believe.
yeah, Blake spins on the infield, or at least we think he was spun. We don't know if he was hit or what. There you go. Pete Newman's terrible days continuing. He's had another spin. He's down to 38th place or so. So yeah, all sorts of problems going for him. Kieran Chung's in the pits as well. He's had a bit of a bad time of it as well for Oriental Esports. Dennis Melcher is back out there after fixing the damage to his Ford. Dean Timms, he had some issues early on as well. He was last on the first lap, but he's battling away still in the year one racing car. Lars van Rijn, second in the AM category, 39th place, and he's had some problems too. We saw what befell Billy Fletcher, Adam Hedgecock, and Simon Underhill earlier on as well. So the story at the rear of the field has been even more eventful than it has been at the front, Sam. And there in the pits is a Ferrari, and that is Nick Madsen, pointing at a very jaunty angle. And there's Mike Gray.
Very strange pit crew to prefer that angle. I imagine Madsen was not trundling, the opposite of trundling, absolutely storming along, and suddenly realised that his pit box was a bit sooner up the road than he thought. It catches out everyone that when you're the first pit box, it's almost impossible to get it stopped unless you prepare beforehand for it being right there. Of course, such a fast pit lane we have as well here. You've got to brake with some leeway in order to get the car stopped in the lines.
Yeah, very difficult pit entry, that's for sure. Is it me, or does this look a bit closer now? This looks like the drivers are ramping it up slightly.
Certainly, McClay's back with them.
Good work by him. The Renvale Fitstyle Motorsport car.
Palmer, oh wow, that's a slow lap from Palmer. 45.0, that's 1.7 seconds slower than the leaders. And I wonder if he hasn't got the same pace as Mangan. Maybe the only reason why he's keeping up with Mangan was because of the tone. Now that he's at the front of this chain, he's not being able to sustain that same pace because that's 1.6 seconds slower than his best lap time.
Could even be something to do with the McLaren, you know, as well. As McClay has easily cruised up to the back of these guys now. 18.3 seconds between McClay and Ben Gregory. Maybe we should watch that gap to see. I mean, Gregory's last lap was a 44.8. I don't know how those guys at the front are doing mid-43s and this lot are doing 45s. I mean, Ben Palmer is a terrifically fast driver in the SimSports Racing USA car, but as we know, in endurance racing, you can just go through stages when you just haven't got it for whatever reason.
Yeah, heat up the tyres a bit, can take a while to cool them back down as well. And just with your setup as well, maybe the tyres will be going off. I believe they don't have to change tyres, do they? So
I don't think there's a tyre change. Tyre change isn't mandated. No, I think it's just you have to come into the pits twice, and obviously as a result, you'll end up getting fuel.
It might be worth taking tyres though, because with this new tyre model, the degradation is a bit more. However, this is one of the lowest degradation circuits on all of iRacing, seeing that it is mainly just straights, and of course it's a very cool track temperature as well, which will help that out. So if anyone takes tyres at their first pit stop, then they are brave.
Yeah, indeed. And are we gonna see a move then? McFarlane, if he was thinking about trying to get past Mangan. Still very close for 8th place, Sam. It's getting very, very tasty indeed.
Oh, that's off for
Mangan!
Oh, he just dips the wheel onto the grass, and that is, like I said right at the start, small mistakes around this circuit cost you so bad because he's now lost the jar, and it might take him the entire rest of the race just to catch back up again.
Yeah, that might be effectively race over for him. Obviously, we don't know for sure because there's still plenty of time to go, and he's very, very quick indeed, but now he's going to have to change his strategy somewhat. Andy Shields had an issue. What's happened to Andy Shield? Is he just
he's just come in, yeah.
Just bitting in, there he is.
He was in that battle for 8th previously. By the way, Matt Bunn, unfortunately, is not out on circuit, stays in the YouTube chat. Matt, could you clarify that the first points are awarded at 52.5 minutes, or if it's rounded to something more obvious? 52.5 would make sense, but a little bit of clarification would be very helpful.
There you go. Yeah, not the best race for Matt Bunn today. Now relegated to answering our questions. Nicole Foggy, oh my goodness gracious. Came into the pits there and the Lizard Motorsports car was right there. Matt Draycott. And goodness me, Foggy came within inches of him.
This is a lot shorter than I thought they would go. To be fair, 35 minutes, you can do 35, 35, 35. That's as even as you can make it, but I thought Foggy would go a bit longer than this.
Wonder if they're thinking as well, though, to do with the half points. Might put them in a better position to gain those mid-race markers. Who knows? As this is still going on then. In turn 1. Beard goes a bit wide. And Peter Harrod through into 7th place. Oh, and Harrod's looking. He's having a look on Gregory as well. He's really trying to get on with it.
He wants to get it done right now. That's the first change of position we've seen this chain, I think, for about 15 minutes. They've all just been waiting, and now all of a sudden Harrod feels like he's got the pacemaker even to pull away. So might have a go at Gregory going into the bus stop. Lots of drivers coming in. Jacobs, Fields, he was in this battle. Danes, Yacolet, Underhill, Boland, Hedgecock. Like I said earlier on, I believe the drivers can go another 10 minutes on fuel, so we'll see if anyone tries to mix it up or whether they are all going to go for the same stretch.
I would probably go 45 and then a splash, but
yeah,
I don't really know if it's much of an advantage. It might be advantageous to, you know, run a lighter car, and as we said, 105 minutes split into exact threes is 35, but I wonder if what they need to account for as well is, bear in mind, you know, they obviously need to account for that extra lap at the end, just in case they barely cross the line, so we hope the drivers are trying to do remember to calculate that, because sometimes it can be forgotten, Sam. It's not completely beyond the realms. We've seen it many times on this channel and all over the iRace Esports network that people run out of fuel.
Oh, that's a lot of smoke.
This?
Someone's having a barbecue at the side of the circuits. Who's
grilling up a storm there?
Could be Danes, perhaps? Not sure. Anyway, I said earlier on how if you took tyres at one of your pit stops, you'd be brave. Nicole Foggy is a brave man. He has taken tyres, 51 seconds stationary.
Wow, okay.
So, and that makes this early pit stop even more strange, because you think you want to go as close to halfway as you possibly could with your pit stop, so you have half the race on one set of tyres and half the race on another set of tyres.
And you'd also feel like you wanted to get... You'd want to maybe make it as quick for you to get to half distance as possible, which would be not taking any tyres for the second stint.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's only got... Yeah, he's only got 8... what's he got? 6... For some reason I can't count at the minute. He's got 15 minutes or so to half distance point. So it's unlikely that time is going to be made up. I mean, obviously he's thinking about the race win. That's surely speeding in the pit lane for Thompson. That looked a very quick entry, but I could be wrong.
So maybe they can only get to 38 minutes. Pretty much everyone has come in. Oscar Mangan.
So I was going to say, did you think that people were panicking and coming in, you know, because they see everyone else coming in? But yeah, let's see just how much fuel Mangan has actually saved in that McLaren.
Because he was at the head of the chain though, wasn't he, for a while? So if anything, he could have got the shortest.
No, only for a.
Well, I guess when the chain detached.
He was never in the lead, was he? It was only a bit later that he was ahead of Harrod. Yeah.
Yeah. Evdoka is ahead of Thompson. Oh, Thompson 4 seconds longer stationary, so that's just him taking a bit more fuel. But they're going to be so far ahead of Foggy here. So Foggy's going to be down to
McFarlane.
like 8th, isn't he?
McFarlane did a good pit stop. He's close right up. This is where the traffic comes into play now, Sam. We said it would, and navigating these back markers is going to be so important. We say it every time, but it really is.
And of course, you might gain some time as well if you can really kind of latch onto one and then get a slipstream pass into a corner. It can gain you time rather than lose you time. It's a lot about luck. It usually evens out during the race, but not all the time. And of course, Thompson got taken out, of course, at Bathurst, didn't he, in the last endurance race, or the first endurance race of the season, when leading by 15 seconds, absolutely crushing the field, and then got taken out by a back mark and retired from the race. So that can happen as well.
Oscar Manga then leading the way, but only until his pit stop.
Will Howard stay out? I believe you do get a bonus point if you lead a lap, but he's not going to get that.
Chris Tarrant would say we're not going to give you that.
Yeah.
Cue the well-timed coughing in the YouTube chat, no doubt. Pete Harrod then is the last man in to make his pit stop. The last one of the top 20 anyways. Anybody else still staying out? Doesn't look like it.
So we can almost, I realise this is a bit early, we've got 11 minutes to go. We can almost put Evdoka as the race 1 winner because 4 seconds clear.
Oh, so 4 seconds. I mean, you know, these two are together though, aren't they? Thompson and McFarlane. So McFarlane's actually got ahead of Thompson since the pit stop. So it's possible that use it, because remember, both cars go quicker when slipstreaming, so they could make that gap up very easily.
Yeah, potentially. I wonder what McFarlane's thinking. He could potentially help out his teammate Evdoka by holding up Thompson, although I imagine he's thinking for himself. Maybe McFarlane, after that quick pit stop, less fuel than Thompson, will disadvantage him later on. But he will be thinking that he might be able to make a race victory today. Boggy's down to 6th place, by the way, 5 seconds behind Mangan.
Great pictures from the back of the MP412C of Ross McFarlane, the Texas Fittstein Motorsport car, looking back at Josh Thompson, who races as a privateer in this championship. It's only 23rd in the championship. I would have thought Josh Thompson would have had a better time of it, but did he get a penalty for changing cars?
He did, and that is quite a sizable penalty in this championship. Otherwise, he'd be right in the hunt for the championship win.
He's been driving for a few different teams over the last couple of years. Been at Williams Esports at the moment, who are having a really terrific couple of months. That's for sure. Williams have struggled in Formula 1, but pretty much leading the way. One of the leading organisations in esports at the moment. As Thompson slides the car through turn 1, he goes a bit wide, Sam. He loses the adhesion, and that means that McFarlane's very, very close to getting alongside.
4 seconds into the leads. They gained a lot on their top on their last lap, 8 tenths, but that was due to the traffic, so they need to make hay now.
Going wide and outbraking himself in turn 1.
Yeah, exactly. They need to make hay now whilst they're not in traffic, because once they do catch up to the traffic, then they are going to start losing time against the race leader.
Yeah, that's a gaggle and a half, isn't it? I watched the, as many of the viewers might know, on F1's YouTube channel, they put the 1996 Monaco Grand Prix up there, and that's a great race to watch if you illustrate about being in traffic and being held up and just how it can affect your race. Because you saw gaps fluctuating by 1 or 2 seconds at a time, just through how certain drivers are able to get through the back markers and certain drivers struggle.
Would be great in Formula 1 to get rid of blue flags one day. I appreciate at the moment.
Not at Monaco, probably.
Oh, I love that. Reverse grid at Monaco, please. Sign me up for that. Having some have Kubica and the Williams leading the race, would very much be impressed by.
It would
that.
if he still drove for them. It would, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It would. Look, there's the pit stop strategy. Look, you can see it on his screen. We have 3 of the top 8 drivers coming in slightly earlier, and Foggy, you can see that's the outlier there, Sam. 51.4 second pit stop, and that's the tyres coming into play. And again, a poor first corner for Thompson.
Foggy's going pretty quick, 43.69 on that last lap, only 4/10 slower than his best lap time. So he is catching, and he will be faster to the end of the race.
Here's a good question for you. Do you think everybody's going to take some tyres at some point, or do you think somebody's going to try and be brave and do the whole race on one set?
To me, doing the whole race on one set would be the way to go, but I'm not sure about the tyre wear in these cars, and I don't think anyone is quite sure because this new tyre model has been around for 5 weeks now. But still, none of these guys will be 100% confident on either strategy.
Because in my head, at least, this is going to make Nico Foggy very strong at the end of the race. And that's when everyone else, if they stay on the one set, that's when everybody else is going to be struggling the most. It's going to be at the hour and 20-minute mark, the hour and a half mark, isn't it?
But of course, when you take into consideration the traffic, of course, when you've got fresh tyres, you can't really do a whole lot when you're stuck behind, 30th and 31st position in traffic trying to overtake them. So,
and also, it's not a very well. As this is at McFarlane, he's right on the rev limiter, looks Sam, as he tries to make some hay on Thompson here. I think that might be all the straight line speed he can coax out of that car, but let's not forget, it's Thompson. I tell you what, he is struggling into the first corner every time. He's making it look quite tricky out there. But sometimes if you get a light car with old tyres, it can be just as dangerous as any time, because the car is a bit lighter and a bit nimbler and a bit more power relatively, and it can be a bit twitchy with the old tyres on.
McClay having to defend, I believe, from Andy Schill. He wants to get back up into 11th place. Remember, we did have that mega chain, didn't we, at 1.4? It was for 8.
And Schill goes for it. Schill went for it up the inside. Wasn't quite be careful with the rejoin, George. But wasn't quite a space there. Enough of one anyway. So that's McClay. Second in the championship, McClay, remember. So that is important. Down into 15th place. Here's Richard Warmingham for XVR Sim Racing. He's just 2/10 ahead of Stephen Burke. Well, Team Lizard Motorsport. Burke started in 17th. One of the few drivers actually to have dropped down from where he started, but still in the race, still going well, Steve Burke. So he had a spin or two actually, didn't he? So kind of belies his position at the moment, doesn't it?
Yep, and one of the highest running amateur drivers still. Here's Dennis Melcher. Magically, his car is completely fine, despite hitting a wall at 150 miles an hour earlier on.
I mean, it wasn't fine at the time.
No, it wasn't.
It's the crew of the medical car. They're going to be doing some good work. Yeah, we send all the best to everyone around the world at the moment. Speaking of medical things, and we hope everybody's staying home, staying healthy, and having a great, has had a great Easter weekend, because we do hope everybody's had fun.
Definitely. Did you get any Easter eggs?
I got one Easter egg. Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I did. We decided we were going to go for some, just one small Easter egg, because we won't get anybody giving us evil looks in the shops for buying a big Easter egg or something. Oh, up the inside, Nick Madsen. Oh, that's a great, good attempt on Bibby. Bibby forces him wide. Madsen flashes the lights at him, not too happy, but looked fair enough, I think. Didn't curry any favour with Bibby anyway on that occasion. And look at Mark Fletcher, Sam. He's in the top 10, just as you predicted.
Yeah, he might finish best of the rest, which would be a mighty effort. Pete Harris, so
Speaking of mighty efforts, actually, Madsen's up 33 places, so he's actually done better than Fletcher has from this point.
yeah. Fletcher had a longer pit stop. Madsen put barely any fuel in the car, so I expect him to come in probably about a quarter of an hour.
We're only 2 minutes away, 3 minutes away from the points being dished out.
Yeah. Was Harrod in that second, in the leading queue earlier on, or was he in the second queue? He's now kind of in the middle of the two.
Pretty sure there was only one of the CQR. Sorry, I keep saying CQR. It's the same stable, isn't it? The Sim Sports Racing USA cars. There was only one of them in that top group, and that was Ben Palmer. And we're looking at Pete Harrod now, 7th position, 12 places up from where he started. And as Pete Harrod tends to do, Sam, over the years, Pete Harrod just gets on with his job and does a good job. He's third in the championship. He's only 19 points behind Mark Fletcher, and he could get a few of those back today.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant championship put together from him so far, and I don't believe he's had too many really bad rounds. So he's got some. He can afford another bad round basically, and still be all right. Doesn't look like this can be a bad round for him. Though 7th place, and of course, I mean that's only 6 places. That's only 6 points less than what Evdoka will be getting. If he gets 2 of them, that's 12 points. It's not too bad. Consistency in these endurance races is probably more important than the absolute win. Perhaps as long as you get a top 10, it's pretty good.
It's not bad, is it, for 25 seconds off of the race lead, and only losing up by 6 points. Still getting 69 points. This is Madsen versus Bibby again. And Madsen, his best lap of the race, 1:44.0. Bibby's actually got a faster lap of 43.7. Bibby's gained 19 places, so even he started in 28th place, Sam. It's brilliant performances by everybody that we're talking about at the moment.
And this will be the last lap, won't it, for the 52 and a half minutes. So this is properly mattering now. You want to get your nose ahead, even if you lose it.
Well, it should be the last lap anyway. It's going to be close.
I think it should be that by about 10 seconds, from what I can see.
Coming around the corner onto the banking is Michael Evdoka at the minute, as Madsen looking for that extra point on Bibby looking for that extra point on Nick Madsen. Going into this is a good corner, that left-hander, very fast corner, very narrow piece of circuit there as well. Different lines as well by the two of them. Madsen preferred to drive the car in a bit deeper, get a wider exit. Bibby, slightly earlier turn in, tried to carry the speed through a bit more. So let's see then. Yeah, you're right, Sam. Evdoka then, he's going to come to the line and he's going to win the first half of the race then here today. Just the tri-oval to go through. And after 52 minutes and 45 seconds, Michael Evdoka takes the first stage, as it were. So good work by him. 1.1 seconds was the gap, so they closed most of that gap in, Sam. They did get through a lot of it. Thompson in second, McFarlane third, by the way.
Smart from both Evdoka and McFarlane not to take as much fuel at the pit stop. Thompson took 5 more seconds, and that's pretty much the difference between Evdoka and Thompson. I guess Thompson has got back, so it might be favourite for later on.
Look at this.
Madsen lost out to Bibby.
Oh.
Bibby was ahead across the line. So Bibby will get 8th, Madsen in 9th, and Fletcher wasn't close enough, or perhaps...
Bibby's wide. Madsen's trying to get the cut back, coming through 1, got a good run through 2. And yeah, into the slow corner again. Nick Madsen stays in 8th place ahead of Bibby as he twitches badly. Bibby's going to get a good run, Sam. He might have a go into the right-hander, I wonder. Going to follow through this kink. Oh, thought about it.
43.95 for Fletcher just behind them on that last lap. I mean, he's got the same pace as the race leaders right now,
Pace, yeah.
Mark Fletcher. So he probably has the pace to drop these guys. But as far as I can see from his driving, since he's caught up about a lap and a half ago, he seems to be very cautious with this overtaking. He wants them to settle themselves out, and then he will pick them off one by one. At the moment, when they're fighting so much, he's quite reluctant to get involved.
Yeah, because I mean we've seen that he's had a couple of bad races and doesn't want to get involved with anything silly at the moment. Half a second behind these two at the moment then. Lovely line through the bus stop. Really nice and smooth. You can see that he just carried as much speed as he possibly could in that Mercedes. Now we're going to get the big drag through the banking. That's car 3 and 4. Is he going to go for it, Bibby? He's on the limiter, he's closing in slightly. Is he going to try and move to the inside? It looks like he's shaping up. No. And he might look for that mistake. He got one. He got one, did Bibby. Madsen aggressively gets back onto the racing line. The Dane in the Ferrari trying to stave off Bibby then. That was clever from Bibby. Sam, he waited for the error, he got it. Can he capitalise?
Yeah, just falling offline was Madsen. Hector going so deep on the brakes. So do you get ABS to these jets? I think pretty much use the same marker every time, but there are barely any markers down at that turn one, and the change in track surface really does affect the drivers a lot, or at least track elevation. It really can put off the drivers massively under the brakes. And Shield as well is catching up to these drivers by about 3/10 on that last lap. He's now 1.7 behind Shield. Fields is involved in this as well. Beard, who was with those guys earlier on, and McClay as well, who got spun round. He took tyres at his first pit stop, so he was right fighting for the lead was McClay. Took tyres, and he's catching up to these guys by 1 second on that last lap. So this is going to be fun. Within the next probably 10 minutes or so, you should see 8th and 14th all get close to one another once again.
Well, Field and Beard, who are currently 12th and 13th, they're fighting over the AM category, so the Pro-Am category, sorry. They're the leaders of that. So Field leading the way, very experienced driver Simon Field. I've seen him many times on the Apex Racing TV channel. But for now, in the Madsen's in the pits, Sam.
That is quite early. We were saying how he took pretty much the least amount of fuel of anyone on circuit. I'm not sure he was doing to the end from here.
Well, he was doing what we suggested, wasn't he? And going, trying to get those halfway points, as many as he could. Well, this is the iRacing Esports Network and the World GT Championship presented by Apex Racing TV. Andrew Woodhouse and Sam Fitzpatrick on the commentary, and Sam Kumo doing a good job keeping an eye on 46 cars with the cameras. And Sam F, well, Daytona has proved once again that it's been a tricky circuit. It's been a great spectacle under the lights so far, and we've got still over 45 minutes to go.
Yep, one half of the race is complete. Half the points have been dished out, and it was pretty close before. I think the second half of this race, though, to be the proper winner of this event, I think it's going to be even closer with these drivers. They've got a proper three-way battle for the race win now. Evdotka and Thompson probably the favourites, but McFarlane's right in there and battles all the way down the order. Everyone fighting for something. The championship is on the line. It's a perfect setup.
Yeah, and can Josh Thompson then hold on to that P2? He's putting pressure on to Michael Evdotka's lead, but he's receiving pressure from behind from Ross McFarlane, and it'll be very interesting to see how these three shake themselves out at the end of the race. In terms of the pit stops, as Sam was saying earlier on, well, the actual pit lane time was the longest for Josh Thompson, 54.95. With a stationary time of 31 seconds. Michael Evdotka was 51 seconds in the lane and 27 seconds in the box. And Ross McFarlane was the fastest overall, 49 seconds in the lane and 25 in the box. So you would surmise from that, Sam, it's not guaranteed, but you would think that McFarlane's taken on slightly less fuel. He might have to come in earlier. However, he is now in a great position to save in the slipstream of 2 cars.
Yep, and Dotko is in a tricky situation now because he's got less fuel than Thompson, so he's going to have a longer final pit stop. So if Evdoka can get into second place, it sounds stupid, but if he can lose the lead, that might be the best thing to do, but I doubt Thompson would be too happy with that. I think he's quite happy with his position. Might be worth just going back to a nice battle we've got for 17th place with Richard Warmingham being caught at the moment by Ethan Bass. Stephen McCaffrey is in this one as well with Chris Danes on the recovery drive after spinning, I believe, on the first.
There is a spinner.
Yacolet is off.
I just heard someone spinning there. It's Carl Jacqueline. Oh, he was doing so. Oh, he's in the middle of the course. And Hedgecock has to avoid. Jacqueline then. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if we can get the replay maybe, but he was running in 24th place. I mean, starting in 46th. Let's see what happens, Sam.
So it's going to be by himself. We haven't had too many of these incidents so far, so I've just about lost that beat.
Oh, it's such a... I said it last week. You feel so stupid as a driver. You feel so pathetic when you have a crash like that. And yet, it's just very, very easily done.
It is, and of course the tyres will be degrading at this point. 1 hour will be quite a difference between now and the starts of the race. Maybe a little bit of lack of concentration as well, of course, by himself for once having a bit of relaxation, and makes that costly mistake. So we'll have to retake those couple of places. Meanwhile, at the front, Thompson is within passing range. He could overtake if he wanted to, but it doesn't seem like he does.
No, and nor should he really at this point. He and McFarlane they're in the box seats. Got great, they're in a great position to capitalise on this. They got rid of Mangan effectively. He's 15 seconds behind. Well, Mangan spun, didn't he? Palmer is 12 seconds behind as well. Foggy's 16 seconds behind. Yes, he is lapping quicker, but it's worth noting, Sam, that now he's behind Mangan. So just keep an eye on this battle as it gets quite close into the hairpin. It is worth noting that Foggy's tyres appear to have equalised with the rest of the field because he's not really lapping much quicker, is he, than the others?
No,
I was
not.
about to out of fuel. Sounds like he's out of fuel to me. Oh dear.
Well, that is not the reliability we have come to love from the Ford brand. We are slightly biased. Apex Racing TV, although this is on the esports network. Anyway, we still absolutely love Ford, regardless of the blue oval, and that's a shame. And of course, there's already taken a fast repair. Does Melcher? Hopefully, we'll see him back out on circuit in a bit. But so yeah, just gonna get back to the pits, and he's going to be probably finishing outside the top 30 because of that.
Yeah, it's a shame for Dennis. He was going very, very well indeed. He's still 4 places ahead of where he started, but I feel like the amount of points he's going to undertake now are not going to be necessarily the ones he wanted. But we know he's out there for fun. He's out there to just do some races and see how he can get on. I will say, as much as I love the 4GT, I would love to see Dennis in a in what you'd call a more traditional front-running car, because he was we've seen him win series on this channel in the past.
Reminds me a bit of when McLaren had Honda engines and they insisted that they had the best chassis on the grid for about 3
Yes.
seasons, which proved to be absolute
Nonsense.
absolute nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Melcher, if he really wants to, he could just say, "Oh, I'm the best driver on track." It's just the car lets me down. It's just the
I
car. It's the fault. I'm sure he wouldn't say that, but there is more
he
pace
wouldn't.
available for him.
Oh, there's Andy
Oh
Shield.
no!
What's happened to Shield? I'm not sure. He was in 10th place. George McClay is a good 100 yards or so behind him. Let's see what happens. Turns it in to the... Oh, and it's the same spin. It's the same spin that Carl Jacquelet did, just on a different corner. Again, so easy to do in these cars. Yes, they've got ABS, but the weight transfer can sometimes be a little bit tricky if the car's getting a bit lighter. No, I would like to see Dennis maybe in a faster car. I reckon he'd be top. I reckon he'd be top 20. No pressure on him, but there you go.
Yeah, probably around Field and Beard, I imagine. So, somewhere in that.
He could be, certainly could be.
Brendan Kennedy, by the way, asking what has been the trouble spot so far in this event. It's kind of been a little bit of everywhere. Turn 2 a little bit, turn 1 as well.
I'd say the driver's not giving, especially early on, not really giving each other the space. Especially in the mid pack and the lower. To be honest, it's been most of the lower half of the field that have had more of the issues. Seen a few at the front. It's been spins. It's been spins, really, Sam, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody's really. We've only seen 1 or 2 crashes, as in drivers crashing into each other. We've only seen 1 or 2 crashes of people actually crashing into the wall and things like that. So, as Steve Berg, he's looking for a way around Ethan Bass. He's trying to pick up that side draft, Sam, and he's doing so very successfully now.
Outside can be the better line going into the first corner. Can carry a little bit more.
The Alex Simpson line.
There. Yep. Now, how wide is he willing to go? Much later on the brakes is Berg, and the team leader driver does get past. That was really strong for me. He just seems to have so much more confidence. Just needs to make sure he stays within the stage. I don't think he's got enough pace to do that. But this is decent for these guys. They might have a better chance of catching up to Warmingham and Danes now, who are very much within sight.
Yeah, Burke's had a good race. He like I say, he had a. It's funny when I say he's had a good race. He's lost 2 positions from where he started, but he did have a spin, I believe, in the first 10 laps. So he seems like he's done a good job since then. Steve Burke, he's a very experienced driver on the service. He used to race in the Kia Optima a lot in the on our channel, and now into GT racing. They call Foggy versus Oscar Mangan. Foggy the Scotsman, Mangan the Irishman. Foggy's just got through on Mangan then, so up to P5 for him.
He's now 16.5 seconds off the lead, though. I think he's lost some time, actually, in the past 3 or 4 laps, maybe whilst he was behind Mangan. It was about 18 seconds when he came out of the pit, so he hasn't made as much time as we thought on these tires. I wonder if the front runners of Doc Thompson and McBride maybe are thinking, oh, hang on, this guy isn't really catching us despite the fresh tyres. Maybe we won't change tyres at our second pit stop.
To me, this is going to be the time, though, now that I mentioned before, that that Foggy's tyre advantage is going to come into play. If he's going to gain substantial amounts of time, it's going to be this.
And all it takes for the drivers who don't take tyres, 1 spin, and you've lost the time that you are hoping to have the advantage for. So it's certainly the safer way to take tyres. It didn't work out for Foggy in terms of points. It's strange that he just really kind of disregarded the points at the first stage. I mean, finishing in 7th place, I believe, at the halfway distance. That's 6 points lost. Even if he did win, he would have got 2nd and 3rd probably at worst if he had not taken tyres. As Foggy is now into the pits. We'll keep an eye out on how long his pit stop is. This is pretty much the first front runner to come into the pits. We saw Madsen come in earlier on. But he might have to come in again. Foggy is the first driver in the top 10 to come in for certain the last time. Tom Jacobs as well coming down the lane, and George McClay as well from 12th place. Be interesting to see where McClay is in comparison to Madsen. He was behind Madsen after the pit stops, but in the first stint, I believe they were line of certain all parts of the same battle, so he might get ahead.
McClay
In
took
24th
tyres.
place, by the way. So
McClay took tyres, didn't he, first time too?
he did.
So
Good shout.
this should be a fairly short stop. Foggy comes out then. Just through the safety car. Hey, if it lets you off with it, let's do it. Foggy, and I will say it's one of the hardest pit lane entries I think in motorsport. Is this? It's very, very tight. It's a concrete wall on the outside, and then you got those daft little yellow sleeping policeman type things, so you don't cut the inside. And if you hit one of those, you will be in serious trouble.
Yeah, you'll have to come straight back to the pits again. Which is quite ironic.
What happened? I don't want to talk about it.
Docker said, that's surprising he's come in earlier than McFarlane, because McFarlane took marginally less fuel than him. And this is working out. This is a very good situation with Thompson right now. Remember, he's going to have a 4-second shorter pit stop, at least. Considering he's been in the draft this entire race, he's going to be even quicker than that compared to Evdoka. The big question is, does Evdoka take tyres? We'll find out in probably about 10 seconds.
I'd be very interested to see. Yeah, I'd be very, very interested to see who. Sorry, just how much the tyre drop-off actually is in these last 35 minutes or so. Evdoka and Palmer in, Harrod in, Fletcher in. Evdoka out after 30 seconds pit stop, so no tyres. As off goes.
I think that was Bibby.
Yeah, I think it is Bibby. Lewis Bibby off, and there's Mike Horder, look. So Mike Horder in 7th place, who's inherited 7th place at least, just behind Lewis Bibby. It looks like he's struggling, that car sliding around.
So Bibby took, I'm just trying to see what his, sorry, I can't even see what his second time was. But I think he lost about 3 seconds there. I certainly saw an off track for him. But he's ahead of Evdoka, and that is like legit. So Bibby's been able to. So.
Is it legit? Was he in that group?
Oh, apologies. No, I'm getting Bibby and McClay mixed around.
Yes.
So Bibby, of course, still yet to come into the pit. So Evdoka, leader of the drivers who have pitted twice as McFarlane, is in, and that's not much of a surprise.
Well, no, and let's see then. This is going to be the key for McFarlane. Does he take some tyres? Does he just fuel up to the end? 33 minutes.
Oh no, he's had to reverse.
Well, that's lost about 1 second.
Yeah, I think he had a chance of getting ahead of Evdoka. I don't think he has any more.
It's going to be tight, isn't it? But I think you're probably correct on that one. Carl Moore going well. JT Moore in 9th. He started in 8th, but as a privateer and as a relative rookie to the series, I think it was his first meeting at Monza. So when he somehow ended up with -2 points, but we're getting some points today. It's all right. We've all been there. We've all been there.
He was really quick at Monza as well, as out of the pits is McFarlane, and he is behind Evdoka. Would have played in behind Evdoka even if it weren't for the reverse back to this critical, but it would have been a lot closer, wouldn't it? Jeez, he would have been almost alongside if it weren't for that. He's almost in the draft and did seem to have better pace in the second stint, or they did have the draft for Thompson, I guess.
Would have been super close. Super close, that is for sure. That's the thing as well, though. I think this is what people coming into the series, especially this series and the ARL TCR as well, which we cover on our channel and on the RS Esports Network, is that one lap pace is one thing, but the relentless pace of these guys throughout the whole race is what's impressive to me. I mean, I haven't driven in the World GT Championship. I have driven in the well, not since season 1, I believe, anyway, but in I have driven in the Aero TCR, and it always amazes me, Sam, just how fast everyone is. You did some races recently, didn't you? Is that what you found over the race distance? It was just relentless.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was surprised that maybe in terms of pace, I was maybe like a second off the front runners, but what I found was their racecraft in the Monza race I did in particular. They're absolutely superb, and maybe I could nail a few corners and stay close to the front runners, and then I'd not quite nail a corner. Meanwhile, they would just have some kind of extra glue on their tires and be able to apply some
Yes.
more pace. It is a shame that they get the hacks to iRacing that us two don't. Now, of course, we are extremely talented, but yeah,
That's it.
can't do a whole lot about that. That
Come on, Iris. What
programming
are
to
you
be
doing? Exactly. Exactly. But I will say that does my real point about Carl JT Moore is that it it shows how well he's actually doing. Is that he's qualified well in both his meetings. Yeah, he had an issue I think last week. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but this race meeting he's doing fantastically well. Yes, he's still got one extra pit stop to make, but even after the pit stop, you'd be looking at him being probably around that 16th, 17th place mark, maybe a bit higher, which is still tremendous on your second meeting. Oh, Woodhouse around. Mark Woodhouse has spun.
Yeah, one lap down. I think didn't you go off there earlier on as well?
Can't
Certainly
remember. No, it was there. I think it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
might have been on the exit of that one. Thompson leads then.
Still going.
Yeah, still going. Hasn't made his stop. Neither has Oscar Mangan. And Moore hasn't come in either. Everyone else has come in. So you would imagine, Sam, that this is going to be the lap for Josh Thompson and for Oscar Mangan. What can they do? So this is what we need to look at. Josh Thompson is 50.3 seconds ahead of Evdoka, 50.7 ahead of McFarlane. And the average pit lane time is about 53 seconds. So it's going very well for Ross McFarlane and Michael Evdoka. If I was McFarlane, though, I'd be trying to get this move done, I think, Sam. I think I'd be trying to get this move done on Evdoka. I think he's slightly quicker, and here he comes. He's going for it up the inside. This is for the net race lead, potentially. And Michael Evdoka has lost that position, but McFarlane just ahead. Can Evdoka fight back into the right-hander at the end of this fast section at the back of the circuit? No, he can't. So that could be very, very important. If not for the race win, could at least be for a little bit of the bubbly.
Definitely. It's only for second place. That is big. As Thompson has come in now. As long as everything goes standard here, he should have the race lead, and by quite a margin. Should be about 4 seconds clear by the time he comes out of the pits, as long as one, he doesn't take tyres, and two, he doesn't overshoot his pit stop.
It didn't seem like he had any penalties or anything in the pits last time, so he must have judged that pit entry perfectly, because I watched it and it was absolutely lightning. Mangan still carries on then, as he looks like he's having a bit of a wrestling match with that McLaren through the first corner. Irish driver, former pro driver.
Thompson's gone. That is a quick pit stop. 5 seconds faster than Evdoka, and I think he's going to be even more than 4 seconds clear. This is, what, 7 seconds it looks like? Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Boggy's decision to take tyres isn't, at the moment anyway, looking like a great one. But still time. Still time for him.
I remember Evdoka at Sebring a couple of seasons ago. Back then, I think the Enduros were like 90 minutes. No, it changes every season. We're going on about this before the. Come on, stick with the rules, guys. I mean, it's hard enough on us anyway. We're not very good. Just keep these Enduros the same length, please. But I can't remember how long they were. But Evdoka's tyres basically fell off the cliff with about 5 laps to go at Sebring, and he had 2 spins. So if that happens, and if we do have that amount of tyre wear, then those drivers might be lapping 2 seconds slower than they were earlier on by the end of the race, and Foggy might bring it back. But you are absolutely right. Foggy was leading in the early stage. He's now 25 seconds off the lead, and it's very difficult to see him making that up in the next 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I mean, you never quite know. You never know exactly what can happen. At the moment, it's not looking like it can be done. But this is a great battle then. This is Ash Beard. And Simon Field is 2 seconds behind Ash Beard. So he's in amongst, well, it's not traffic. It's traffic in terms of his category. There's George McClay not in his category, Ash Beard. If he can follow McClay, like I say, second in the championship, George McClay at the moment, then he can. You see the classes on the screen there corresponding to the timing tower. Probably should have told you that earlier on, guys, but there it is. This is your first time watching, welcome, of course. But yeah, late stages here, 25 minutes to go here at Daytona International Speedway. And we're looking at 9th place George McClay, just ahead of Ash Beard in 10th. Simon Field is 3 seconds behind this group. There he is, you can just see him coming into shot in the boosted motorsport car. And a race under the Irish flag.
Mangan came back out, by the way, in 4th. So everyone, apart from I've seen Des Melcher doing 1 pit stop so far. I think he also had a tow back to the pit, so I think pretty much everyone on track has made their 2 pit stops. It's a strong position for Mangan. He's only 6 seconds off Dotka in 3rd, and most importantly, he's 8 seconds clear of Palmer and Foggy. So it looks like Foggy may be resigned to just finishing in 5th place, unless he can really get his trainers on and chase after Oscar Mangan.
Gonna have to be some good trainers. He's 8 seconds behind. 24 minutes to go. It can be done, and like I say, he is now lapping quicker though, Sam. We are now seeing it. 145.1. Ben Palmer 144.1 for Foggy, 145.2 for Palmer, and it's only Thompson who's quicker than Foggy out there at the moment. So see how that one pans out. This is the battle for 5th that Sam was mentioning. It's Nicole Foggy at the back and Ben Palmer in front, 5th and 6th.
Well,
Palmer's had a good race, hasn't he, Sam? I think.
Yep, being very secure as Palmer.
As Foggy goes through, I if that's Palmer just allowing him through, maybe he's just going to follow the XVR sim racing car. See if Foggy can drag him up to the top 4. It's going to be tough, but you never know. Stephen Burke leads the AM category as well. Current championship leader Craig Jones. We haven't really seen much of him, but he's in 24th place for SCC Racing. One of the few Ferraris in the field. In 24th, there's Burke on your screen now. And Jones just ahead of Michael Blake there as well.
Burke won one of the amateur races at Monza, I think, maybe even 2 of them, so he's in good form. I think he got within the reverse grid actually for like race 3 and was actually on the front row of the grid, so that must have been good fun for him. Certainly bringing back those points in that championship. Gregory is sizing this one up, taking a mega wide line, which doesn't seem to have been a favourite among the drivers today. They all seem to quite like the tight line, not the mega tight line. I mean, there are so many different lines to turn 1. You can go kind of down the middle, where you kind of go over the ridge. You can stay tight where you avoid the ridge, and you can go wide where you go way off the circuit and try to get a cut back. But everyone's just staying in the middle option, it seems, today. Gregory is a lot faster as wide goes Burke.
He's going to get a decent exit, but he did get some of the marbles on the outside there. And up the inside then for Gregory. And Gregory, I don't really know what's happened to him, Sam, because he was running inside the top 10.
Yeah, he was.
He was at the head of that second pack, wasn't he?
He was in 8th at one point. so you must have got like a speeding penalty or something, or something like that.
Maybe.
But certainly not at his second pit stop, but maybe at his first.
Looking at the lap times, Thompson has got it out to 7:10 on McFarlane, so it's getting perilously close for the Scotsman to the time where he may lose the slipstream, and that is, Sam was saying earlier on, the key around this Daytona International Circuit. It's funny how much the Daytona Oval, Sam, and the road course, obviously so different in terms of layout, but just as crucial in staying in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, remember this road course parts of the circuit is actually the exact same as the original iRacing scan. They never changed it. They rescanned the oval, but they never rescanned the road course. So
Ah.
don't let
Was that
apologies
because
to.
the road course was a car park or something when they scanned the? Wasn't it being used for something? Well, so they couldn't
Yeah, I
scan it. Is that
guess.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's only operational for a few months a year. Maybe Rallycross as well, perhaps, was being used at the
Oh,
time.
wide.
Yeah, Nits, that's a strange line. And just as Burke did on the last lap, running very wide at the second horseshoe, there's near contact. And, well, loving this, just behind is Chris Danes, although Danes has had a bit of a rubbish lap. He's now 4.5 seconds back. Maybe Ethan Bass, he could catch up as well. But yeah, absolutely
I
insane.
would
So
imagine.
apologies for iRacing for exposing that on the Esports Network.
Yeah, I would imagine though that they probably went to scan the oval um, when the 500's on. So I imagine that the infield's being used for various things.
Of course, when they scanned Le Mans, the Bugatti circuit wasn't available, which is a bit of a shame. Would have been
Yeah,
nice
that
to
was
have
being
that
used as
extra.
a car park or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would have been nice to have as an extra circuit, but ho hum.
Yeah, you never know. We might get that at some point. I'm already looking forward to the 24 hours of Le Mans. I'm planning on entering that. I don't know about yourself, but it was one that I entered a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it. So might I give that another bash?
What car?
Oh, not sure. It was Ferrari last time, but we'll see. Maybe the same. Oh, off!
Order.
Mike Horder. Doesn't look like he's going to lose any spots.
I might lose out to, well, that's actually Van Ryn, isn't it? Just behind her.
That's Nick Madsen, 2 seconds behind. And that has
And
not helped
Madsen's got
Horder's
3
chances.
tyres.
And Madsen is not hanging around at all. We've seen him charge up from 42nd place to 16th position at the moment. So he is absolutely flying through the field in this. We've had 50 laps, Sam, as well. So great distance covered by the drivers today.
I'm yet to mention how Horder won the Apex Racing League American GT Championship, the GTE Pro class. Sorry, the GT3 Pro class, even around this circuit. Probably about 2 or 3 months ago, he actually won it on a run to the line. Literally, the top two in the championship were him and someone else, and he won it by about 2/100ths of a second, and managed to win the championship, which was all quite epic.
It's very possible that this race could be decided on a run to the line.
Yeah. You
Very,
want to
very
be
possible.
behind, really, don't you?
Thompson leads by 9 seconds, but there are certainly places that, there are certainly places that we may see it. We may see it between, well, this battle that we're watching now, Bibby and Moore. We could well see a run to the line there. Burke and Gregory, Mangan and Foggy. Sorry, Palmer and Foggy. McFarlane and Evdoka are only 7/10 apart.
Yeah, I'm sure a few other battles as well, with the drivers on the fresh tyres perhaps catching the slower drivers. I think a few more of these battles are gonna brew by the end. Might even have Mangan and Foggy quite close to one another by the end of the race. Moore had a tricky. He was struggling at about the half an hour mark. May have had like a spin. ever since then, he has come back quite strong. If Bibby and Moore can work together, they're 3 seconds behind Field, 6 seconds behind Beard. They'd still get a top 10 potentially. They'll need a little bit of luck from the traffic, but it's possible.
I'm impressed with how many battles we still have at this stage in the race. It's pretty good in that sense. This is, of course, the World GT Championship, the iRacing Esports Network in association with Pure Sim, presented by Apex Racing TV. Andrew Woodhouse, Sam Fitzpatrick, Sam Kumo, with you here at the Daytona International Circuit in Florida. And what a circuit, and it's given us a great race so far. Very interesting race with the strategy. And Josh Thompson, Sam, at least for now, you can see him there on your screen. It's not been easy for him so far, but it's certainly serene progress now with what's nearly a 10-second lead.
Yeah, and I think it's been difficult to tell, particularly in the first stint, because everyone was in the slipstream one another. It does seem as though he has a pace advantage though. It does seem like he is the fastest driver out on circuit, not by a big margin, but just has that consistency over everyone else, which is kind of what he had at the start of the season. Hasn't quite had it in recent rounds, but he's regained it now. Maybe getting used to this Audi a little bit more, and he's taken back that's very dominant position, which he usually holds in these endurance races.
And Thompson, you know, when I first saw him driving on iRacing, maybe about 4 years ago, something like that, he was very, very quick, but he was very ragged, and he struggled in finishing races, and he struggled in staying out of trouble with collisions and things like that. What I've seen over the last couple of years is just complete maturation and a complete change of attitude, Sam. He's turned into a bit of a machine out there, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah, I think these endurance races have perhaps gone from his weakness to actually his strength. There's a spin further ahead.
That is Stephen Burke
from the lead.
Yeah, that's the lead of the AM category then. Burke turns into the bus stop, coming through the second part, loses the rear, can't catch it. Oh, and no. Gregory just avoids it.
Gregory kind of guessed the wrong way there, and then Burke pretty much on the apex. That was Thompson as well.
Thompson, yeah.
Went past.
Wow. Yeah, Thompson, he just doesn't seem to cause accidents anymore, and you know, it's so refreshing to see a driver come into his own like this. And he's if it wasn't for that penalty for changing cars, he'd be well up in the championship.
Still can't rule him out. I mean, he could.
Not completely, no, but
no.
It's going to be tough from here for him.
But he is a guy who could outscore everyone else by 20 points each round, and with the amount of top drivers, they might take points off one another.
Well, he's picked up some good points here today as well. Obviously, if he gets to the end of this one, picked up decent points for the first half of the race.
Incredibly, Evdoka might score the same amount of points as Thompson if Evdoka can get back past McFarlane, though that is looking less and less likely. Still though, Thompson will only outscore Evdoka by 1 point and only outscore McFarlane by 2. It's going to be a great day for all three of them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that front group of drivers has really had a great day today. And they've shown why they are some of the best drivers in the world. This is the World GT Championship after all. They've done a great job. And they do a great job for anybody as well. If there's any teams out there, and you know, any pro teams looking at some of the drivers in it, any of these drivers that do a fantastic job in the top teams.
Yeah, certainly of that quality. Nick Madsen, by the way, has had to come back to the pits So he did think 48 minutes was going to be a little bit long to go on a tank of fuel. He's had to take another 9.5 seconds of fuel. Fortunately for him, this is one of the quickest pit lanes we have all season. It's not a very long pit lane in terms of length, and it's they also go at I guess maybe like 100 miles an hour rather than 61, I believe. So
What, in
way
100
faster.
kilometers now?
Well, usually it's 100 kilometers an hour, isn't it? But they go faster down this pit lane. I don't know how fast it is. Anyone on the on the YouTube chat, let me know. Seeing that it's in America, I assume it's going to be measured in miles now. So probably like something like 80 to 100.
Yeah, well, that's pretty quick for the pit lane, isn't it? I remember there was a NASCAR track out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Charlotte. Maybe experimented at one point with having no pit lane speed limit, and apparently that went down
Wow.
like a lead balloon.
I'm sure the pit crews were absolutely enthralled about that.
Oh, I bet they loved it. It's already it's already dangerous enough, isn't it? In there without not having any without having any the cars going down at over 100 miles an hour. Now, here is Chris Danes. And who's that behind him? That's Ben Gregory. So Gregory's going. He's having a look, having a think about it. He's hoping Chris Danes outbreaks himself. Not on this occasion, so the two Mercedes drivers there battling. Gregory for Texense Fitstart and Danes for Year 1 Racing Academy.
Year 1 certainly became much stronger over the past few months. Mark Fletcher, their new team principal. I say new, it's been a thing for like a month and a bit now, so I'm not sure if he can still put that label on it, but I am sure he's doing a very good job. Everyone who I've spoken to at Year 1 have been very positive about his influence. They are doing very well in the Sim Racers World GT Championship, which you can catch, by the way, on the Esports Network on Wednesday. Myself and Marco Barbanera bringing the action there. I believe they are winning the championship. Certainly Ashley Beard is doing quite well. Jack Ashton, I believe, leading that championship.
Oh,
John Roberts.
John Roberts.
Second has spun it now.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of John Roberts. 2015 BSRTC AM champion. John Roberts going in 23rd place at the moment. That's up from 37th on the grid. So good job by Roberts.
And Hedgecock.
Carl Hardy's had an issue as well, but Hedgecock as well. Yeah, he's lost a place to Kevin Bollard. Oh, and that's why he's embedded almost in the wall at turn 1. So Adam Hedgecock's big crash back down to earth essentially continues. Unfortunately for Hedge, it's not ended up being a stellar day. Gregory round the outside of Danes, and there's contact, and Gregory goes off at quite some speed.
Whoa.
But as is the way that the course is here at Daytona, Sam, he avoided hitting anything. He was a good 100 yards off the course, but he managed to survive.
Well, if that was grass, he would have been slamming into the drivers on the other side of the track. There was maybe a little bit of netcode as well involved. And
he slammed the brakes on, didn't he? And he barely stopped.
Yeah. Buy a lottery ticket.
That is a long way from the racetrack. Dear me.
I don't think there's any other circuit where you can almost, if you make a mistake, you're quite likely to skip half the track, because we've now seen that 3 times today where it's nearly happened.
Somebody's probably tried to do it without anyone noticing, I'm sure, in the past. Now here's Carl Moore and Lewis Bibby. Moore's going to try an outside line here. Is he going to try and move into turn 1? Is he going to have a look on the inside? Decides not to this time. Not quite alongside Salmon. Very difficult, even in turn 1 here, to make a move if you're not quite overlapped.
I don't think there's much point in Moore trying to get past Bibby. Bibby caught and passed him earlier on in the race, so I doubt Moore could pull away. They've got
might just be hoping for that run to the line, like we mentioned earlier. Maybe twitching away.
Yeah, I think that's probably his best bet. Stay behind until the last lap, or maybe penultimate lap, and then go for it. Then are they lapping faster than the drivers ahead? They are 2 tenths faster than Beard, and then Shields just ahead of that. In fact, Shield recently getting past Bit, so that was a move for 10th place, so they are still light. So Bibby is all over the place. And remember, Bibby's got the fresher tyres, I believe. Took tyres at his first pit stop, and even he's struggling.
Speaking of tyres, Nico Foggy, we mentioned we keep an eye on his times. He's now the only one under 1 minute 44 seconds, as his fresh air tyres it seem like they're doing a good job for him, but he's only a tenth quicker than the likes of McFarlane and Evdoka, so it hasn't really worked for Foggy. It's not been a complete disaster, but it's not quite been a home run either. It's more like a dribbling single through the infield, but definitely it's kind of worked out. He's worked out for a top 5, hasn't it? To be fair, it's cemented that position.
Yeah, he's certainly no Matt. Anyone who's watched or played Wii Sports, which is my entire baseball knowledge, anyone who's played, will understand what I am saying. In fact, I don't know which one is good at baseball. They're all good at different ones. As Melcher. Well, I swear this is like.
That might be the splash and dash, because you know what it was though, don't you, Sam? And this is why Melchert's been in all sorts of trouble. It's because he had that crash. He had to pit early, didn't he? So that's probably why he ran out of fuel, because he probably put in the fuel he thought he needed, and now he's had to come and splash and dash.
Yeah, I think he had that
because he was a little early.
Yeah, I think he had that crash at about 15 minutes, and the fuel hasn't lasted as long as we thought. We thought, or at least I thought, it was going to last about 45 minutes. It's been more like 41 minutes, which, of course, when you're that margin can really make a big difference.
He's going to at least finish the races, Dennis, so fair play to him. He's going to be, well, if he finishes where he is now, he's going to be 33rd, 8 places up from where he started. And Chris Daines is in the pits. Now, I wonder if that's to deal with damage from the collision with Ben Gregory, or whether it's just a splash and dash as well for Daines. 23rd position at the moment. Tyres for Daines then, so. Well, very interesting situation here for Chris Daines. I've no idea why he's taking tyres at the moment. I'm sure we may find out at some point. Don't know if Matt Bunn's still in the chat. I don't know if he's got any ideas of what might be happening there, or any of Chris Daines' team.
I've made a little bit of a habit over the time that we've been on the esports network of criticising iRacing, and looking at there, come on iRacing, give us animated pit crews. You did it with, is it NASCAR, which have it at the moment?
The NASCAR ones are great.
We would like it for road racing, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you very much.
The NASCAR ones are brilliant, I have to say. Very, very good indeed. Yeah, because then we could see exactly what's cracking, so to speak. Now, Bibby and Moore is still going on. 13th and 14th, as they were. Bibby started 28th, Moore started 8th, and here we are at the end with them two together. Again, thank you for watching, everybody, tonight. We really, really appreciate you joining us on the Esports Network. And over 200 of you still here at the end of the race, so stick around with a bit more as well, because we'll have interviews and reaction coming up after the checkered flag. So stick here. We'll be here for at least another, well, maybe until just about 9 o'clock, depending on who we get and if we can hear any of the drivers in the commentary box this week. Here comes Moore then, and then once more, no pun intended there, sorry.
Genius.
Again, he lifts off to try and, but again, saving fuel, but staying behind Bibby. Bibby's quandary, as we see McClay versus Fletcher here for 8th place. It's very close indeed. But Lewis Bibby's quandary is, is there almost contact? Fletcher trying the outside. Problem for Bibby is, Sam, he's still trying to catch Simon Field. He's less than 3 seconds behind him, so he can't slow down and play cat and mouse with Moore.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a tricky puzzle, a tricky almost investigation that he's having to do right now. Is Moore? If only Morse
Inspector Moore
was on the scene. There you go. No, but Bibby, was he only fast on that? I keep on thinking that Bibby's going to gain also like a second on the gyros ahead, but it's not quite happening. Still 2.8 to be 2 tenths faster on that last lap.
Foggy was half a second
Not good
quicker
enough,
than. Actually, Foggy was half a second quicker than Oscar Mangan last lap.
Yeah.
He's going to run out of time. I'm almost certain, but he's got it down to 2.1 seconds.
Yeah, last lap that Thompson's on. One more lap for these guys.
But credit to Josh Thompson, Sam. He did not take any tyres in any of his pit stops, but he was still quicker than Foggy on that lap. He was still quicker than McClay, who also took tyres. So yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff by Josh Thompson, and he's going to deserve this when he comes through. And we're going to have a look at him as he starts as he comes onto the banking for the final time. When he started in third place, Josh Thompson, second row, he'll have been fairly happy with that. Kept that position for pretty much all of the first stint of the race. But then it was a pit stop strategy that really paid off. He could save some fuel. He's flashing the lights to make sure that Dennis Melchert knows that he's there. Melchert staying as far out of the way as he humanly can on this final lap. Josh Thompson coming into the bus stop chicane, and provided that there's no disasters or anything like that for him. Oh, he goes onto the grass on the exit. He's still giving it some out there, but coming round NASCAR turn 3 and 4 for the final time here in round 18 of the World GT Championship. The checkered flag is going to come out, and it's going to wave for Josh Thompson, who wins at Daytona.
McFarlane and Evdoka were quite close for second before, but Evdoka just dropping off on this last lap. McFarlane takes second, Evdoka in third as the
oh wow!
As the fireworks go up.
Moore's got ahead of Bibby, Sam.
Yeah, must have been a mistake from Bibby. He's still got time to come back though. 6 tenths of a second. If he nails this final chicane, there's still hope for Bibby to finish in 13th.
Yeah, and he's going to be hard on the power then. There's going to be no lifting this time. He's got it within 4 tenths. There's the fireworks, you can see them from the left-hand side, lighting up the night sky in Florida. I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's 4 tenths of a second. I've seen it done though from here, Sam.
He should have it. He's seemingly got a lot more straight line speed, and I'd say this might
Is
be
he going to hit?
comfortable.
Is he going to hit the limiter?
Here he goes. Can he get alongside? He's going to have to go the long way.
Moore's going to try.
Moore's
going to try and cut to the inside. It's going to be Lewis Bibby over the line, 13th place for Bibby. Terrific stuff there. And you were right. He just had enough momentum to carry him through and stay in 13th place.
Apparently Moore got Bibby into turn 1. So Bibby must have then made a mistake.
Can we get a look at that actually? Can we see if we can see that? See if we can see that pass. Here we go then, Sam. Take us through this one.
Yeah, so he nips down the inside. Bibby almost, you know what?
Give him it, didn't he?
Lets him go.
He
lets him go.
Oh, clever. He lulled him in, didn't he?
That he played it close though.
He did, but that was the wide entry to turn 1. Give it away, because we saw when Fletcher was battling a few laps ago with I think with McClay. He would not go for the wide line. He was trying to pinch McClay down to the inside, and that was somebody trying to fight the position, wasn't it? But yeah, I think Bibby suckered him in, and that's and the veteran, the slightly more veteran Lewis Bibby is showing that experience.
Yep, not quite the perfect day for Bibby, considering a second place in the championship, and will probably lose points to most of his championship rivals. However, could have been a lot worse, and this will still be a decent point sort. Won't be one of his drop rounds, safe to say. So yeah, not too bad for the Renveld Pitstone Motorsport driver.
Indeed, and Josh Thompson then takes the win by 12.8 8 seconds over Ross McFarlane. Michael O'Docker in 3rd, Oscar Mangan 4th, and Nico Foggy rounding out the top 5. Ben Palmer was in 6th, Pete Harrod 7th, George McClay 8th, another solid result from him. Mark Fletcher 9th, and Andy Shield after a couple of incidents P10. Ash Beard and Simon Field were terrific in the battle for the Pro-Am category, with Beard taking that one for Year 1 racing, as he said, ever improving Year 1 racing. Lewis Bibby in 13th, Carl Moore, we saw him in 14th, Mike Horder 15th, Richard Warming was 16th ahead of Ethan Bass, who's the first car a lap down, and then Ben Gregory in 18th. Stephen Burke was 19th, and he won the AM category. It was an eventful round for Steve Burke, but he got it done in the end, ahead of Craig Jones in the SCC racing car. The Ferrari there. Boosted Motorsports, John Robertson 21st. We saw him spinning off just a few minutes ago. Michael Blake 22nd. Billy Fletcher 23rd. Then Mike Gray in 24th. We saw him with damage early on. That affected his at least the first half of his race. Tom Jacobs in 25th, ahead of Stephen McCaffrey. And then Chris Daines in 27th, another eventful one for Daines, with Kevin Bolland, who got in some problems early on, and Carl Jacquelet, who spun in 29th. Lars Van Ryn 30th, and Adam Edgecock had a bit of a nightmare, 31st. Nick Madsen was going very well, absolutely flew through the field, ended up 2 laps down in 32nd. Dennis Melcher crashed earlier on, 33rd. Carl Hardy 34th. Dean Timms 35th. Timms was last at the very beginning. Something happened to him. I'm not quite sure what it was, but that was on lap 1. Mark Woodhouse had a few spins, 4 laps down, 36th. And then the drivers that retired, we had Harry Wills out of the race, Chris Coughlin, Simon Underhill, Matt Draycott, Max Bird, Pete Newman, who had an appalling start to the race, Taylor Lane, Kieran Chung, Matt Bunn, who had a couple of spins, and then Dan McCauley was 46th and last, Sam, and that was the 1 hour and 45 minutes of Daytona, as it were.
Yeah, we should be getting a few interviews coming up.
Indeed. Let's have a little look and see what we've got. I think we should definitely try and get a word with Ash Beard. Ash, can you hear us first of all, since we had some problems last week?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, guys.
Ah, perfect. Hello, mate. So, congratulations on the win in the class, and 11th overall. That looked like it was a race where really you just had to kind of avoid the silly mistakes, and it seemed like a lot of drivers were having a few errors out there.
Yeah, it was definitely a case of trying to preserve, because I mean, we did no tyre stops in that, so we just basically rolled the dice. And after the first stint, it was sort of like it was 94% on my tyres, so I thought it was worth a risk. So we gained quite a lot of time and managed to keep out of the trouble.
Yeah, and we saw a few drivers go for the tyres, and it seemed that they had some benefit, but the race actually wasn't long enough to give them that benefit. The tyres weren't going off quickly enough, so you were able to stay in place. You seemed to have a good battle with Simon Field at the end.
Yeah, I kind of played a tactical idea, because I could see that Andy Shield was getting quite close. So I thought I'll let him go so I can just have a little buffer behind him, just to maintain the high speed. Because I could see Simon was getting very close towards the end, and it was getting quite nail-biting stuff. So I thought, I'm not going to risk racing a pro driver when I can just sit behind him.
Yeah, and I mean, Simon Field's very experienced as well, so he's one that really out of the field that you want to kind of battle with out there. On to Suzuka then next week for 3 sprint races around that circuit. A great track, as we know. Is it one that you like? Is it one that you're confident with?
Suzuka's such a fast-flowing, great track. I mean, it's old school, which tends to suit my driving style. More rolling corners, a bit like Daytona, but more technical. So I'm expecting quite good results, and I think the Merc will be quite planted around there. So we'll give it us all.
That's what you need, is stability and that downforce around Suzuka. I'm sure you're going to do your best with it. But before we let you go, will you give a shout out to your sponsors, your team, whoever? It's been a great result for Year 1 Racing.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Year One first of all for giving us a great package. I mean, we've got Mark with us, and he's an absolute angel to have as a team principal. So he's getting the best out of me at the minute. I'd like to thank everyone that really follows us on the cars, thinking circles. It's just a great package to be a part of. I mean, it's thanks to Graham Sessford as well, and thanks to you guys for a great stream.
Well, thank you very much. And you guys are improving all the time, so keep that going. And yeah, 4 rounds remaining in the season. We wish you luck for that.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Ash. Ash Beard there, and certainly a great race for that. And Sam, I believe that you caught up with Josh Thompson.
Yes, I get to have the chat with the points highest scorer and the second half of the race winner. Congratulations, Josh. Yeah, how was it out there? How much fun was that racing with those guys? It looked like a very tactical race, certainly at the start.
Yeah, just had to play the long game. The Audi obviously not being the strongest car again now due to the top speed. So I knew qualifying and all that didn't really matter. All it mattered was being in the draft the entire time. As you saw, I played the longest game going and it worked out at the end. So yeah, I'm pretty happy.
When you came out of the pits for that first pit stop, were you expecting to be closer to the lead? You took 31 seconds of fuel. Were you expecting the others to take a little bit more fuel, or was that pretty much how you thought the race was going to pan out?
Not really. It's a pit size special, as I call it. They always take 20 litres less in the first stop, which to me makes no sense because the last stop is going to be shorter anyway, so make it basically nothing. Obviously, I had managed to save a bit more fuel than them in the first stint due to being with Michael and Foggy at the start, whereas Ross was a bit further back, so even if he saved fuel, he wasn't going to be able to gain that. So obviously, he must have overturned, I think, 10 seconds in the first stop as well. Same with Michael, I think he pulled 5 seconds on out, I think, at the most in the stop, so yeah. I let them do their own thing, obviously. I just then got my head down after the pit stop, cut up the gap, so every advantage they gained was gone, and then I could just run my own race, and at the end it showed, I think it was like a 12-second lead at the end.
Yeah, absolute domination in the end. And how did you find the tyres near the end of the race? You saw some guys taking tyres, including Nicole Foggy most notably. Were you considering that at all?
No. I was up in an R-ring. Obviously, we ran Sports Car Open, the 1,000 miles this weekend, and even in the 30-degree weather, you could double stint. So, kind of had a bit more background knowledge on that from earlier in the weekend. And obviously, with the track being 19T, and the first stint, I kind of tried to look after the tyres. I didn't really want to push. That's why I kept dropping back from Nicole and Michael, and then kept driving back up to them, just to keep saving the front tyres, because we had a huge issue with that in the FCO race at the weekend. So, once I managed to do that, it was not really a massive worry. I think if I pushed at the start of the race, yes, I would have struggled at the end. But I think the second stint was the one what proved that both Michael and Ross seemed to really struggle, whereas to me, the car felt really glued.
Well, congratulations, Josh, once again. Are you thinking about the championship? That's all, of course, you took that big points penalty. 4 rounds to go. Is it still feasible?
Probably not. I'm just here to have fun now. Obviously, the reason why I changed to the Audi was because my championship was basically over after 4 rounds due to 3 rounds in a row having loads of DNFs for things out of my control. Obviously, I had 2 free penalties, what were my fault for driving like an idiot at some points in the season. So, yeah, I'm just here to have fun and just try and win as many races now.
Absolutely. Well, is there anyone you'd like to thank before you say goodbye?
So, yeah, you guys for the broadcasting, all the World GT admins, and then everyone at Williams Esports, so the sponsors being Chill Blast, BenQ, Team Razor, One All Sports, HE. And I'm probably missing something else as well, but I don't know.
Well, good effort, regardless.
I haven't got my sheet open.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you guys.
All right, well, Josh Thompson there, a well-deserved victory. Might be going off to get some of the bubbly at some point. Now, see just quickly if... trying to look at where everyone finished. Ross McFarlane we've got, actually, as the second place man overall. Ross, can you hear us, mate?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, it's been a while since you're in the commentary box, and after a terrific race, really, strategy was king out there tonight, and really, you made some great gains in the pits.
Yeah, I mean, on the track, it was a bit of a difficult story because from the get-go, for whatever reason, the McLaren, I think it's purely because the car has a pretty hard limiter when you get right up on the top of its speed, and the other cars just simply don't. So at a track like this, it really begins to struggle in a pack. If you lose the draft, even to like 1 second, you really struggle on the track. And so once Foggy, Michael, and Josh had broken away, I was really stranded. So yeah, I
Is
gained
that
a bit
what
of
happened
time.
to Oscar as well? Then do you think? Because he just dropped like a stone, didn't he?
Oscar was, I think he was trying to save some fuel. He was making a few strange maneuvers, and then I think he just dropped it in the end. Small mistake on the braking, and it's unlucky for him. But yeah, pit stop wasn't ideal, but I was pretty much aware that third place was the best I could do at the time, and then I believe that Michael just his tires went off really badly at the end, and then I was able to make that last bit of gain.
Looking at the standings, it's all very close at the top 10. You know, separated by not a lot. Well, about 100 points before this race meeting. Is it just a case of just chipping away as best you can and you know, seeing where you can get to before the last few rounds?
I think that's it. Yeah, I didn't have a great start to the season, and I was there or thereabouts. With the drop rounds, I could be a bit closer, but then taking the 100-point penalty for changing to the McLaren, that has both set me back 100 points, but also I think effectively gained me a few more as well. I've really enjoyed driving it, so for me it's just if I can get top 5 at the end of the season, I'll be very happy, but the main goal was just enjoy driving the car, score as many points for the team as possible, and just have a blast throughout the rest of the season, and that's what I plan to do.
Do you think that enjoyment's going to continue at Suzuka then next week? Because obviously a lot of drivers love the circuit. Are you one of them?
Yeah, it's a great track. I really do enjoy it. I think that the car will struggle a little bit because, you know, some of those twisty sections, the car can be a little bit rear-ended. You know, the front end doesn't have a lot of grip early on, so I'll have to do a bit of work with the setup. I think Josh will be absolutely flying because I think the Audi is really the only car that can be called the best car there. But no, I don't think it should be too bad. I think all the cars will be fairly balanced, and with a bit of setup work, I'm sure we'll be fine.
All right, well, with that said then, let us know if there's anybody who you need to say thanks to, the sponsors and the team.
Yeah, big thanks to FitStyle. It was a great performance today. TechSense, Renvale, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, just to name a few. Everybody who supports the team. We had our other, I know one of them is here, but our other principal in the box with us, helping us out, giving us some spotting, so it was really enjoyable, and loving racing with them. So yeah, thanks to those guys, and to you as well for the stream. These longer races, I'm sure, are a bit a bit tougher, but it's a really good job, so thanks.
Well, I'm sure you'll be enjoying watching that one back, and might learn a few things in terms of that and the McLaren and things like that. But yeah, well done, Ross, and congratulations once more, and we'll catch you in the future.
Cheers.
Cheers. Right, Sam, well, that's pretty much all we got time for tonight, and what a terrific race it was. I mean, really, really good. We didn't know what was going to happen until the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, we were kind of waiting to see how the drivers could cope with the tires, and yeah, seemingly Abdoka, learning from those interviews, was struggling quite a bit by the end of the race, so it did play a bit of a part. Certainly not taking tires was the way to go, but Josh Thompson, dominant fashion in the end. Didn't get the full points, of course, only second place at the halfway stage, but it was still a mega impressive performance for one of his best drives for the whole season.
Completely agree, and that just about concludes the coverage then from Daytona in the World GT Championship. This has been a presentation from Apex Racing TV on the iRacing Esports Network. stick around for more action after this. But of course, stay home, stay safe, and we'll see you guys at Suzuka next week. In the meantime, it's Josh Thompson with the win. Good night.